balls out. Yo, welcome to the podcast. It's the three balls in. PJ's dropping topics, let the combo begin. Dave O's on the stats, breaking down the play. Logan's never plays, but still analyzing the way. We're talking Chubo legend. First stop the share leader, and we're not a cult. The wizard with the magic, ready to boot. Prime's the captain, without a spray. Cootie's in the kitchen, cooking up the meat. Bringing flavor to the game, never tasting defeat. Yeah, Ron's is trash, but we love to remind him. Sin's the future, but he's still a scoop. Praise the MVP, always bringing that heat. Big E's the hugs, lifting spirits on repeat. So tune in, don't miss it. We're more than a game. In the world of Jew ball, we're building our name. From the topics to the stats, we got it on lock. Three balls in, we're ready to roll.
This is TBI alongside Davo and Logan. This is PJ's. We're back at it. Hey guys, 2 episodes in a row in 2 weeks. This is pretty good. Thanks for posting, Logan.
Anytime.
Appreciate it, Davo. Appreciate you always. Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Let's get into the Carnivores, because they're now 3-2, played 5 games more than anybody else at this point of the season. But they're incredibly 3-2, which means they're over the 500 mark. And essentially, although, David, you brought up a good in pre-production points, that percentage points, if someone ties, but really, essentially, they've clinched the playoffs. They are in the playoffs unless some miraculous thing happens and a team goes on a run and then you go based on who played who and the numbers. But we're not even getting into that right now. Right now, the Carnivores have essentially clinched the playoffs. They get their last win. That just helps, certify that being the case. If they should lose, they still have a chance of, because there are 2 0-2 teams. So, and an 0-3 team. So right now they're doing pretty well. But let's talk about this game for a moment. Carnivores, I appreciate your win. You guys had a dominant performance. We got to get back to Blop for one moment. We talked about it in last week's episode. I'm really concerned about this team, not because of the play of the quarterback, because 2 of their best players got destroyed in this game. What were they calling the Red Sunday 2.0? I mean, I'm getting a little PTSD. How's Ice doing?
He's good.
Yeah?
That dude is a machine. He's ready to go.
You have any doubt that Johnny Storm is not going to be able to come back out there and play after that little shiner and possibly concussion he got yesterday?
I mean, I think he'll be back on the field this season. That's not a question to me. But I think the bigger the bigger question for that team. It's one thing to battle through adversity. It's another thing to then also have to deal with the injury bug, and I think that's going to be the bigger question. Mid-season, everyone's dealing with injuries, and quite frankly, maybe this is a really interesting strategy of Kut to get all of his games out of the way while everyone's still healthy.
Yes.
Maybe that's what he thought of all along, to play 5 games already when maybe only 1 left beginning of January. But maybe he wanted to get them out of the way while they're still healthy. But I think that just adds one more question mark in the room, in the chat. When these guys are talking about gameplay. Can we do it? Can we overcome one more thing? Now we're 0-3. Now we've got some guys who are not 100%. It's just one more question mark in a room that, quite frankly, had too many question marks to start with. Prime can right the ship. Do you think he can get this team back where they need to be?
That's actually a fantastic question. It's really going to test the brass of Prime right now to see if he has what it takes to be a captain.
Yeah.
Your team is 0-3. You're banged up. Your QB is missing some of his top targets. He hasn't been playing the best. He played a little bit better. He had to pick himself. He threw only 1. He threw for 2 touchdowns. They had a chance to cut it down, but they had a chance. They were within 1. They stalled in the red zone a couple times. It seems like in most sports that the difference between bad teams and good teams comes down to just a few plays. And he has to be able to, if one of those bad plays happens, he has to be able to rally the team around them. If it's a drop ball, if it's an interception, if someone let up a touchdown, it's those little things that the captain just have to do to try to fix it and right the ship. He's still got a few games left. I think at a certain point, it's not just, can we make the playoffs? Let's take it 1 game at a time. Let's get a win. Let's not be the only defeated, winless team.
Sure.
Let's take it 1 at a time. And I think I don't know who they're playing next because there's no league schedule and everything. It's just a free for all frenzy of leagues. but it's one game at a time. And if he could do that, maybe they have a shot. Maybe they can sneak in. Maybe they just get hot at the right time. We'll see. But I think if anyone can rally up troops, you got a lot of people on that team that can do it. Your own Beast Prime, Storm,
Jordan,
Jay.
yeah.
They got hoorah guys. They just need a hoorah.
All right, let's shift now back to the Carnivores. They're 3-2. They seem to be, obviously we mentioned earlier they clinched, but they seem to be right now, after 5 games, a really powerful team. Your thoughts on that performance?
I'd argue a little bit that they may not be as powerful as their record may say. I think that they've taken advantage of some weaker teams, or they've taken advantage of teams that were not as prepared as they were at the start of the season. And this may have gone to Kuti's strategy of either getting games in while we're healthy, or maybe even striking while other teams are not as prepared as we are. But I think that's going to go a long way. And we've heard in the chat that the Carnivores are upset with the narrative that they can't beat a team with a win. But the problem is that they can't beat a team that doesn't have a win. Their 2 losses, and again, one of them was when Gronk wasn't there, but their 2 losses were against teams that are 2-0. And I worry about them. I think that's not nothing. And so, we'll see what happens. Look, if they can finish out strong and beat the Rubber Duckies in their last game of the season, I think that'll put a big stamp on it, because playing the Duckies in game 1 is going to be very, very different than playing the Duckies in game 6, or at least game 6 for the Carnivores. And I think that'll be a very, very different Duckies team. So that statement win, if you will, in game 6 for them is very, very different than the win in game 1. So let's see what happens. Let's kind of put up or shut up. But, if you don't like the narrative of you can't beat winning teams, well, go out and beat a winning team.
Big game this week. Gorillas versus the Ducks. Gorillas are 2-0. Ducks are 0-2. They've played each other before, right? And the Gorillas, first game of the season, right? Gorillas took the win in that one. Really good performance by Prey in that game, along with that whole Gorillas team. Duckies coming off a performance where they lost, but they seem to be, again, on the upward trend. Davo, prediction for the Sunday. Duckies versus the Gorillas.
I mean, clearly the Gorillas are going to win, right? No, let's be real for a second. We're talking about the Ducks, right? We spoke about last week that the Ducks were on the rise. We put up 5 touchdowns. This is the first game where we only put up 1. I think it's coming. It's coming where the Ducks are clicking. To do a little bit of breakdown like Logan does. I think the QB matchup is very good. If you take Dax's numbers and you take Prey's numbers, not necessarily this season in this season, but in general, you're looking at very similar numbers. We can get into that a little bit later. If you want to break down, receivers, Avery is the best one on the field, but then I might give the next couple to the Ducks the Gorillas might have a better receiving core, but I think the Ducks have a better secondary. I think it's going to come down if the Ducks can penetrate and get to Prey. And I think the same is for the Gorillas, that if the Gorillas can penetrate and get to Surly, I think that's where the battle is really going to be won. I don't see a lot of turnovers in this game, but if you can get, push them back a little bit, you can create 4th down turnovers, get a little extra drives in. And I predict like a 4-3, 3-2 kind of victory for the Ducks.
I think 4-3 for the Duckies. So you've got them getting their first win this Sunday.
I do. And the Gorillas' first loss.
Okay.
Valid as well. I'm going to break it down like I always do. You guys know, you guys love, maybe not love, but you guys know.
I love it.
3 components. We're going to start with the QBs. Prey versus Dax. Ooh. If you look at their record and their stats.
Now that's a doozy.
Now that is a doozy. Now, if you look at their record this season, Prey is 10-6-3. He's got 60 touchdowns, 54 passing, 6 rushing, and 18 interceptions for an average of 3.33 touchdowns for every interception.
Wow.
Dax is 2-5-2. He's got 36 touchdowns, 29 passing, and 7 rushing, and 11 interceptions for an average of 3.28 touchdowns for every interception.
Jeez.
Again, thin. Prey has 9 interceptions and 1 pick six. Dax has only 3 interceptions. So because of Prey's D, I'm going to give the edge there. So I'll give the edge to the Gorillas there.
Interesting.
When we move on to wide receivers, the Gorillas have Rook, Irv, Zada, Mike, and Sting. The Ducks have BK, Perla, Veg, Tommy, and Ernie.
Ooh.
Pretty even here. I'll give a slight edge to the Gorillas, but it's really no thicker than a stripper's G-string. It's like really, really tight, these two. I think, again, a leg up to the Gorillas, but it's a really, really slight edge. Lastly, we look at the line. I've got Spira, Legs, and Blitz on the Gorillas. And on the Duckies, I've got Davo, DK, and Sam. Legs versus DK is super intriguing, and I really hope that they don't pussy out and let other linemen line up with each other. I really would like to see those two go at each other. But I'll give a slight edge here to the Ducks, and Davo is the difference here. Beauty over Spira's age. I've got a leg up to the Ducks on this one. Overall, last week we said that the Rubbers are a team that are building chemistry and momentum, but this is a tall task for them. I still have question marks at safety for the Ducks. I don't know who's playing it there, and I don't know that they know either. And while I see this game closer than the 3-1 score the first time they met, I still have the Gorillas on top 4-3. So I've got the touchdown differential I've got going the other way, but a really, really tight game.
It's tight.
Okay.
Especially when you wear the Rubbers.
Oh,
This is true. Let's talk about this game from a different vantage point. Okay. You've got an undefeated team versus a team that has not won yet, right? I think we all said that already a couple times. Here's the thing. Prey is undefeated in league games, which I mentioned this last week, and he's yet to lose in league games since the 22-23 season.
Championship.
the championship.
I'm sorry?
In the championship.
In the championship,
game.
right.
Like
That's
literally.
right. That was
it was-
literally his last game, last loss.
But who
okay?
did he lose to?
Okay. He did lose to Roll Tide. He lost to Dax. This is what I'll say.
Just saying.
This is what I will say. I don't see how the Gorillas lose this game because they have not played in a while. So chemistry-wise, I would give the advantage to the Duckies. They just played 2 weeks ago. But here, I'm going to say, I think with the way this team is built, you're talking about a receiver team that there is no I want the ball guy on that team. And Prey is the type of quarterback who spreads the ball everywhere. I think when it comes down to it, Prey and that team have the right chemistry to play any week, anytime they need to. They're undefeated. They're really, really good. They have the reigning defending MVP. Until Prey is beaten in leagues, I'm not betting against him. Now, in terms of line play, I think the huge advantage here is Legs. I think Legs is a huge advantage here in this game because he's got Spear next to him. I think that is a perfect combo to get in on Dax. In terms of DK on Prey and Davo on Prey, I think you guys have the speed. I think Prey has the experience to get away from you guys better than I think Dax has the experience to get away from those guys. So for those reasons, I'm going to pick Gorillas, but not in a close game like you're saying. I think it's going to be a 5-2 victory for the Gorillas.
See a blowout.
A little more of a blowout. Yeah, I think Gorillas are just too much for you guys to handle. I think Duckies are going to be the other 0-3 team. And I think we're going to have the questions of which of the 0-3 teams is going to have a shot at making the playoffs. All right, let's shift. All right, guys, it's that time of the week. It's our side dish, Big E. Take it away.
You may be shocked, but I am not a huge fan of vegetables. If it's steamed, ugh. Anything with a potato, yay. Anything with a good sauce, double yay. Salad with a lot of dressing, I'm your guy. So it came as a surprise to me that I really like roasted Brussels sprouts. I mean, they're unassuming. Who knew? With a good balsamic glaze, they're very good. Same can be said about our side dish of the week. Somebody who is tough, unassuming, got a amazing catch this week and a touchdown, and also has an undefeated record in games he's played. That boy is Ross. Guy's unassuming. He's a player. He's a speedster who's really tough. Ross, you're the side dish of the week, buddy. See you out there.
Hey, wow, I was not expecting that side dish, but
that's the beauty of the side dish.
that's a great pick, Big E. That's a good one.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan.
I'm not a fan of Brussels sprouts.
Really?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I like Brussels sprouts.
Okay, that's okay. No,
And I like Ross.
All right. I think it's time to bring in our guest of the episode. Coming into the TBI studios is a internet, WhatsApp, social media sensation. It's Zeyonce Ernie Pollock. He's famous for a lot of reasons, but most importantly, he's famous for a famous video that's been going around. Ernie, welcome back to TBI. Been on every season, which is pretty incredible. Logan, why don't you start off?
All right, man. Well, we're glad to have you here.
Yeah, thanks. I feel like a fourth ball. I mean,
At this point, maybe you are.
we play with you just as much. So
yeah.
I know. Totally
Hey,
agree.
hey-o.
So at this point, I think we've all seen it. You had your hand covering your face at least once, maybe twice. Walk us through that night.
Well, I was channeling my inner prime when I just went, oh God. But no, seriously, if you guys really want to know the whole story, I set the whole thing up. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Not breaking news.
Great.
Not breaking news. Basically, what happened was I had spoken to the groom and bride before the wedding, asked them what they wanted their intro to be. I actually suggested the song "I'm Good."
Oh, sorry, I'm going to cut you off. I was talking about draft night.
Oh, my bad.
But since you're talking about the wedding,
it.
Might as well be relevant.
Yeah,
Let's
might
hear it.
as well tell the whole story here.
Man, that was effing crazy. No, I'm just kidding. I sent it to them. I sent them the instrumental version. We approved it. I have it in my text. I have the receipts. And when I sent it to the sound guy, he has that in his phone also. And for whatever reason, when he pulled up the track, he pulled up the explicit version. And the second I heard the lyrics, any lyrics, not even the bad ones, I just heard the lyrics come on. I'm like, oh no. And you guys you see it in the video. I'm just going, no. And the sound guy, bless his soul, thought I was telling him to make it louder. And
I've never heard this.
Yeah.
This is never a universal sign for make it loud.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know how he got that, but God bless him.
It's epic, man.
Meanwhile, he's not the one on camera, so
no,
good for him.
We don't even know who he is. You shouldn't tell us.
Yeah, we're not going to discuss it.
Now how many wedding requests have you gotten since that video has gone viral?
None.
We've gotten a couple actually. It's not true.
Wow.
It's not true. But they actually said, "I want the guy who curses."
And to be super clear, the bride and groom were cool with it. Like there was no.
Yeah, they actually
were
super nice with them. The mother of the bride actually reached out to me after on Friday, and she's like, "Please don't worry about the intro. It gave us all a good laugh." So all's well that ends well. It was a funny moment. We rolled with it. We leaned into it. Can't shy away from these kind of things. You just lean into it, and everything will be okay.
Fair enough. So, if you had to, what are your top 3 best fucking nights of your life?
Oh man, I'm not answering that. How many kids you got?
We're definitely not a kid show.
That's fair.
Oh boy,
that's fair.
Okay, Ernie, let's get back into Jubal. Although I just want to know, how many likes did that video get on Instagram?
More than I could count. It's not just Instagram. It went viral on like every Jewish WhatsApp there was. I got so many messages on Friday, even at work. They were like, my CEO called me. I sent an email to a couple of people, and they responded, "Can I open this, or is there explicit content?" So it went viral when work is getting involved.
That's great. You know what? It's got to be a lot of fun, Ernie.
It was a lot of fun. I love attention, so it was great.
All right, let's get back into Jubal. The Duckies are 0-2. On the last episode, Davo told us he's not worried. Everyone's moving in the right direction. Thoughts on your season so far?
I couldn't agree more with Davo, who's a great part of our team. He speaks the truth. What?
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. He speaks the truth. I mean, I listen. The first game was so long ago in October.
Right.
We're talking like right after when we tried getting that first league game started, and it was we had to mesh a little bit. We didn't all know each other. We hadn't all played with each other. And the second game, I think we really took that big step forward, especially on offense. It's really all the credit in the world to him. He has learned to play with not his, top receivers that he's used to playing with, and being what a good quarterback does, elevating the people around him. And I can't say more. I'm saying we put up 30 points in the last game.
Right.
So we just have a couple more things to figure out, and I think we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think the perspective that a lot of us shared last week was that of the 0-2 teams and of some of the teams that are struggling, the Rubber Duckies are on the rise. And like you said, you can see that from the offense clicking, and then you just got to kind of have to figure out a couple things on the defensive side of the ball. But I would agree that you guys are definitely on the rise as opposed to some other teams that have obviously some other struggles.
Yeah, we've got a ton of talent. It wasn't never a talent issue. When you're playing with brand new guys or all together at the same time, there's a reason why it takes some team chemistry. There's a reason why people practice. There's a reason why there's spring, there's off season, there's preseason. That's what it's for. And I think that we're gonna hit our stride. Like we have a big game this week against the Gorillas, who we saw in the first week. I think that they're going to see a completely different team.
So, we kind of joked about in the beginning about draft night, but and again, now that draft night is over and you don't have to worry about revealing strategies, I don't need you to go through pick by pick because probably people don't remember pick by pick. And more importantly, we don't need to rehash that. But what was your overall strategy going in? Were you focusing on line? Were you focusing on best available talent? Like, how did you approach the draft? And, what were some of the things that you kind of saw either fell to you or, you know what I mean? Like, how did that play out?
Yeah, I think when you have the last pick, and then you wrap around, I really think that your draft board kind of develops for you more than you going with a proper strategy. So I had the feeling that I had people rated a certain way or different positions where I would want people, and I kind of took it the way it fell. Right? I just remember like I had this guy on the first pick, and then on the wraparound I got who I wanted. It's tough to be in that position because those first two picks are great, but then you end up
right.
you end up having to wait a whole bunch more. So it's not easy. So it kind of just falls to you. I'm very happy with the guys that we ended up with on our team. We have a great team. I think we'll have good chemistry. Like I said, we just got to keep playing. I wish we could, some of the non-league weeks, we just get our whole squad together for a couple of games and work out those kinks. But I couldn't be happier with the team that we have.
All right, Davo, some Ducky love over there?
Oh, yeah. Listen, we're kinky duckies, what's wrong with that? Ernie, I really only have one question for you. If you could dance to one song and one song only, what would it be?
Dance or sing?
Dance or sing?
No, I'm asking David. Was it dance to one song or sing?
I heard dance.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
By the way, it's so easy for me. Cotton Eye Joe.
Oh.
I know the dance moves.
Well, that's
it's important.
Key.
Okay.
I'm not a great dancer. I'm a decent singer. I'm not a great dancer.
I think you're better than decent.
Yeah, definitely better than decent.
Yeah.
That joke missed so much. The song by Jay-Z starts off, we're going to dance to one song and one song only.
Are you saying
there's only one song that I know in like that genre, and it's in Paris?
Was your
that's how it starts.
One second.
Oh,
That's pretty good. But Davo, was the joke that his husband is Jay-Z? Is that what I'm missing?
No, the joke is that's his song, and he missed it.
Me and Prime have a special love language in Paris.
Yeah, something like that.
All right,
I don't really know this.
We have a love language, but I don't really even know it, but it's there. And that's all.
I had one question. That's all I had.
By the way, Prime says the same thing to me about every Jewish song I come out with. He's like, I don't really know anything.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh, just strike that.
Okay. No.
Talk us through the concept of non-quarterbacks becoming captains. Do you feel like that was an advantage on draft night, obviously being your first time drafting? Or do you feel like it was actually more difficult because you had to hope the quarterback you wanted fell to you? Obviously, you got Surly at the number 7 pick overall, or 6, or I guess it really doesn't matter. DK or Surly, whichever one you want to call first. I guess Surly was first. So it's 6. But, does that strategy change? Do you think it's easier for the quarterbacks when they're captains, or do you think it's easier when you know exactly the type of team you want to put together?
Right. So I think that when it comes to a draft strategy, I think that it's by far an advantage to be the quarterback that's building your team, right? Quarterback is the most important position on any football field. So when you're the quarterback, that position is taken care of. You now draft what you want to put around you. And that was kind of my strategy. You know, once I drafted Sterling, I did draft him in the first round because I wanted his input on every single pick. He's going to be the person who has to get these people the ball, right? I may be the captain, but Sterling's going to be that leader of that offense. So that's easy for me. When it comes to what the concept was with regards to non-quarterbacks being captains, I see what Jordan was trying to do. I think he was trying to put the fun back in leagues when it comes to people like, you know, me, who, I mean, Davo might be pissed about this, but I don't take it as seriously, I think, as it's been in the past. But I try to, you know, we're a bunch of guys. We're going out there to have fun. We're going to play football. Yeah, it's our league team, but I maybe don't put the same kind of emphasis on the seriousness as it was in the past, which I'm hoping brings a more light, fun element to it. That doesn't mean that I want to win any less.
Right.
I mean, we've seen captains before with that type of attitude. Gronk specifically comes to mind. You know, I don't think you need to have a, you know, like a precision type sniper almost as your captain, as your leader. I think there's definitely other ways to kind of go about it and still win.
Right.
Do you think there should be a rotation, just like you have a non-league weeks? There should be a rotation even in league weeks, and then maybe reserving the right to abandon, rotations.
But what do you mean by rotation?
So meaning like in a non-league week, you'd have 7 players, right?
You mean line?
Right.
Are you talking about specifically at the line?
Yeah, but everyone would play offensive line. Do you think there should be a concept in league weeks where that happens as well? So everyone
No, and I think
I just want to add one point before you could disagree totally, but and then the kicker would be that you can abandon the rotation with the last 2 drives in the game.
So I'm still going to go no. When it comes to the league week, you got to win every down. You got to try to win on every play. Non-league weeks, I get it. And I think this was kind of my argument. I think I brought this up on the chat also when we were discussing it, is that in a league game, you're winning every play. In a non-league week, you know, it is a little bit more free and everybody should be able to touch the ball and have a good time. But I think that's where we would apply the abandon the rotation rule when it is in crunch time and you want to win. Get your best players in each best position. Doesn't mean that one person's not good at this, but where are you best suited to help your team win?
I hear that. Logan, one more question?
No, I agree with him, but unless you want to bring it to the next one, but I agree with everything you just said there. I think that's exactly spot on.
So let's bring up something that I think has been conversation on the chat for a few years now. I mean, for a few years, just because there was, you know, which championship team was better, right? And then you look at last year's undefeated team, BOP, right? It was led by Prey last year, versus basically undefeated Roll Tide. Their only loss came in their first game, which was an extremely, you know, close. You know, you could say gunslinging.
You can't really call them undefeated.
Whichever basically undefeated is a loss.
A one-loss team.
Yeah.
Correct. But
they lost. They lost.
We had a bunch of rookie Jew bowlers in the terms of Dax and Zin and the other Dax, and just, you know, a lot of guys just come together for the first time. But basically won every game after that. So the question is, which team would win head-to-head in a game? Roll Tide versus last year's undefeated BOP.
I'm just here so I won't get fined. No, but I'm going to try to answer this as honestly and objectively as I can because I was on both teams.
But also what's great is you're not honest and you're not objective.
Yeah, totally not going to be.
And what's great is that Surly is your current quarterback.
Surly is my current quarterback.
And Bray is one of your best friends.
Yeah,
so really,
Bray is also a great quarterback. Don't take that away from him just because
No, but current quarterback.
Agreed. But listen, I think that when we talk about something that's never been done before, you have to put it into perspective of something that's never been done before. And that undefeated team was something that had never been done before. How it happened, why it happened, doesn't matter. It's something that's never been done before, and we'll never get the real answer as to who will beat who because I can't play for both teams. As much as Logan wants to make a joke right now about playing for both teams, I see it on his face. But it really is, and what you brought up before also just I think does, and it's something that I just brought up, right, about my team meshing after a couple of weeks. That first week that when I was on Roll Tide that we lost your own, it's unfortunate, but it happened. Could it have been avoided had we had a few preseason games and maybe we would have figured out what everybody does really well and beaten that your own team? Maybe, but at the end of the day is that there's only one undefeated team, and that's Bop. Who would win in a head-to-head matchup? I don't know. I think it'd be a crazy game, and I would love to watch it.
Davo, who would you take in that game?
Oh, well, we could get into this if we want.
Yeah.
I don't really think it's so gray area. I think Bop wins. And I think I have the numbers to prove it. Logan, do you disagree?
I would love to hear your analysis before I disagree.
Before I disagree.
Well, all right, let's break it down then. We'll talk about regular season. Bop was 6-0. Roll Tide was 4-1. Roll Tide played one less game. Roll Tide had a point differential of 102 to Bop's 94. So pretty similar.
Right, one less game.
Bop averaged 33 points a game.
What's the average there? Because if it is a less game, then it's
Bop averaged 33 points a game.
Right.
Roll Tide averaged 34 points a game.
That's what I wanted. That's my better number.
Well, let's dive into those numbers
Classic.
a little bit more.
Yeah, love it.
Roll Tide played 2 games in the regular seasons against Top Guns. They won in a combined total of 65-7. So let's just, when we look at these numbers, let's keep that in mind for a second, because Top Guns was trash.
I know.
Also, Munch and Singer both did not play those games.
One second, I understand that, but you can't.
So you take one of the worst teams ever assembled.
No. That's not even the
Best
point.
teams ever
When you have
No,
a
no.
sample size of 5, you can't take the outlier of 2.
What's it? Best team assembled,
Wait,
worst team
right.
that
Let me
played.
keep going. Yeah, he's right. I apologize. That's my fault.
So let's look at Bop. Where you say, okay, so Roll Tide played 2 games against a really bad team, right? Why, that shouldn't affect them. That you shouldn't take that out against them.
Okay.
Bop played 4 games with teams of 500 or better records. Okay, right?
Okay.
Roll Tide didn't play a team with more wins than losses.
Okay.
So I would say the competition level was better when Bop was playing than when Roll Tide was playing. Again, you played with 4 teams, and one of them barely scraped by. Guy moved to Florida. Guy was injured. People didn't show up.
Sure.
Guys were hurt.
Sure.
But otherwise, the numbers are very similar for both teams. You're talking about Dax threw for 20 touchdowns versus 5 interceptions. Prey threw for 22 touchdowns versus 6 interceptions. Stacking of both quarterbacks.
And keep on, Dax was played one less game.
Correct. So
So
Dax,
four
they both average 1 interception a game.
before touchdowns a game for Dax versus
So Dax
Which is
averaged
little
5
less than-
touchdowns a game. Bop Prey averaged a little under. Dax averaged 4 touchdowns a game.
Right.
Prey averaged a little under 4
Right.
touchdowns. A game.
It's
It's very close. I think that's what we're
Right. So you're looking at comparing. Interestingly enough, Roll Tide only had 4 interceptions in the whole season. So you're talking about a team that's not creating a lot of takeaways versus the quarterback with the least amount of takeaways. He's thrown 17 interceptions in 21 games. So you're talking about less than an interception a game, which is incredible, by the way.
yeah.
Roll Tide had 22 sacks in 5 games. You're talking about their fantastic line, right? Bop allowed 14 sacks last year. Not saying that we have a better line, but we probably have a better line than they faced all season.
Just remind everybody who is on the line for both teams.
We had open legs versus DK Davo. And now again, I'm not saying that I'm better than legs or DK, but with a mobile quarterback being Prey, we allowed less sacks.
I think it's really puts himself into the category of a mobile.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Right.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I'm just saying, when you look at their attributes, you say, oh, they have open legs, they have a fantastic line, meaning yes, they do. And again, this is not a knock on Roll Tide. Roll Tide is a fantastic team. They were champions for a reason. It's just saying that their strengths kind of rival the same strengths as Bop.
Okay.
You want to look at just the players down the team. Ivry, whose last full season was the touchdown leader. And if I remember correctly, Logan, in season 1, episode 7, you actually said that Ivry was the hardest player to guard.
I did.
Right?
I still stand by it.
Okay, so you're talking about a guy who was playing
Really high level.
who played a tremendous level, and even when he played for Bop, his cleats were off halfway through the game because we were up so much and we were just rolling along. You're talking about the Iceman, who is in 26 games, has 33 receiving touchdowns already. Rookie of the year, MVP, and I don't mean most valuable player, I mean most violent player. DK, sack leader. Prime only played in 2 games for us, and we still went 8-0. 6-0, sorry, regular season. Ernie, Davo, Stella, Fight. Everyone had touchdowns on.
Who had the most touchdowns on the team that year?
Oh, it's very funny. Some guy named Ernie actually had the most touchdowns, but he doesn't want to play. So everybody had touchdowns.
I'm a wash against myself. It's a little bit embarrassing.
Everybody had touchdowns for Bob.
All good. We appreciate it.
Out of the 20 touchdowns that Dax threw, 9 were to Zinn, 6 were to Morty. Ernie, Legs, Waldwin, Rook combined for 5 touchdowns in 5 games for them. You think there's a little bit of a focus on some receivers?
I mean, when he's throwing to Zinn and Dax,
Yeah.
I mean, so would I.
But I mean, when you have a secondary
Hell, I
that
wouldn't
includes
there.
Prime, Ivry, Yoni, and Prey, 4 of the top 12, 15 defenders in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, and you have sack leader. I listen. A lot points to Bob right now.
May I?
please.
Yeah. So your end result is Bop wins. I'm not going to say that I disagree. I think I break it down a little bit slightly differently, and we'll break it down the way that.
I think Dave will just basically prove this is a really evenly matched game.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the stats that Dave you throw out, like for example, like one team has this number of sacks, this team gave up number of sacks. I don't know that that's apples to apples. They didn't play each other. I would have loved to have seen like maybe sacks versus like both teams total sacks made, not given up. But
Right.
But regardless,
I mean,
and again,
21
it's
to
really,
22.
I know, but it's really, and that's my point. It's super close. You stated that like it's a clear cut, obvious answer, and I don't think that's the case. And I'm going to break it down.
Cut. I just think that Bob wins.
So I'll break it down in the way that I know how, which is we go through the 3 elements of the game, right? This is what we do, right? So we start with quarterback.
But before you start this, I'm pretty sure in your 3 elements, I don't think you ever gave Bob line once. Yet we went 8-0. Okay, but go continue.
I mean, if you win the other battles, the line doesn't matter. Like, yeah,
line
I don't know
always
that
matters. Ask the cronies. Does the line matter?
There's a lot of wood over there.
Yeah.
So Crony.
So anyway, so let's break it down with the.
I like how you brought that up. The cronies.
Let's break this down. So
they might have something to say about this argument, but keep going. Sorry.
You've got Dax versus Prey, and some of the stats, Dave, I agree with, but I'm going to list their stats for each of their total seasons. So for Prey, it's going to be the 23-24 season, and for Dax, it's going to be the 22-23 season. Just again, to keep it in there. So, and I feel, look, we've just done this because we're going to talk about, because we talked about the Carnivores and the Ducks, but a tale as old as time, Prey versus Dax. So Prey in that year was 16-6-2. He threw 64, or he had 64 touchdowns, 60-4, but 64 touchdowns and 26 interceptions for a ratio of about 2.46 touchdowns for every interception that he throws. Dax for the 22-23 season was 11-7. He had 68 total touchdowns, 59-9, and 26 interceptions for a slightly higher ratio of 2.62 touchdowns every touchdown he threw. Additionally, Prey had 22 interceptions that he caught, meaning as a defender, 5 of which were pick sixes. Dax, surprisingly, I didn't know this, but he had 2 picks that season. Yeah. 0 pick sixes. So again, this is really, really super close. Again, these guys are, like we said, these numbers are paper thin difference. I'm going to give Prey a slight edge just because of the defense. That'll put him over the top. But this is really a pick 'em. Between the two, it's really, really a pick 'em when you compare the two. Let's move on to wide receivers and corners. For typically, I'll list them out. Roll Tide's got Zinn, Dax, Stats, Ernie, Waldo, Rook. Bop has Ice, Prime, Ivry, Ernie, Fight, Stella. When I look at the receivers and I compare them, Zinn to Ice, that's essentially a wash. You could say one's a little faster, one's a little jumps higher, one's a little more physical. That's a wash, right? Like if you were splitting up teams and you were like, oh, one team got 1-1, you'd be like, yeah, that's pretty fair, right? So that's a wash. Dax and Prime is also a wash, especially when Dax is playing with his brother.
Correct.
I'm going to skip.
And Prime is playing with Prey.
Correct. And so I'm going to skip the next one because I think that's where the difference is going to lie. But let's get a little bit. Ernie versus Ernie, that's also a wash. Right? So like we're going to say that split right there.
Ernie Bop was different. He was him.
Rook and Stella is going to be a wash as well. And Waldo and Fight, I think, is a wash. Fight had a handful of really, really nice games as wide receiver. So I'm going to say that that's a wash. The one the one differentiator, I think, is the stats and Ivry comparison. And I think in that situation, Ivry is going to get the edge there. So I'm going to give
Correct.
the edge to the wide receiver corners to Bop. It's super close. Some guys play physical, some guys play speed. But the reality is that you're going to give the leg up to Bop here. But again, two ridiculously deep rosters, right? Let's move on to line. You've got Roll Tide with Open Legs and Whiskey, and then Bop with DK and Davo. Here, I think Roll Tide's going to have the edge. The combo of Open Legs was dominant all year, and really any way that you slice it, like I can't see them not coming out on top, especially that year. Again, we're looking at the year that they were in. Maybe that may not hold true this year, but that year I think it's there. So when you look at all of the combo of the teams versus them, this is one of the great debates that'll go down, similar to like the MK versus LeBron, right? There's no one's going to be right. No one's going to be wrong. There's really no clear losers. There's a 1A, there's a 1B. But again...
He said MK, right? He said MK.
No, I said MK, sorry. MJ and LeBron. There is no real winner.
I thought it was like a joke.
Oh, they're both a bunch of floppers? Is that what you're trying to say?
When you say greatest of all time,
Who's MK?
Those two guys are going to end up, you can debate it nonstop. They never played each other in their prime. You never, but again, there's no winners, no losers.
Sure.
And I do think on any given Sunday in any game, either of these two teams could walk away with a W. However, I do think if these teams played 10 times, I do think Bop would walk away with 6 victories. And for that reason, I think that Bop is the better team. A slight edge, I think it has nothing to do with record undefeated. I think that's a terrible argument. But I do think that when you look at the players and you look at how each of them play, I do think that the Bop team is going to have that small advantage of wide receiver, and the line will not make enough of an impact because, again, both quarterbacks are mobile. I think that Bop walks away with 6 of those 10 victories. But again, you're talking about a narrow margin.
Yeah, I think that you're spot on in saying when you say that the undefeated versus the non-undefeated is not a part of the argument as to who's going to win this game. Correct. I think it's about who had the better season, and that's where I give the advantage to the undefeated team.
If you're asking who had a better season, undefeated is going to win every time, even if the team is worse.
Right. That's that. I think that's the point we were making.
If you played 2 teams, I think you play it back 10 times. You play 20. I think Bob comes away with
it's super close. That's why it's very hard to be. So that's why everybody asked me to pick. I'm going to ask you guys. What team do you guys think I should be on?
I think you play for neither.
I mean, the one that threw you the ball.
Yeah, I would say
I'm just saying 7 touchdowns.
I do love scoring touchdowns.
I will say this: you were probably utilized more on Bop than you were on Roll Tide. Defensively, you were actually. I think you had an incredible defensive season that year. But I would still say offensively, Bop is.
Yeah, listen, I think I've always been a solid defender, but I think we pointed it out, right? Sterling had Zinn and Morty to throw to, and those two guys are phenomenal receivers, especially with the connection that Sterling has with Morty. So it makes sense. I didn't get the ball a ton, and I'm not bitter about it. We won a championship.
Also, Sterling ran 9 touchdowns that season. He also runs the ball.
Yeah, but that's because he had amazing blocking.
No, I know, but that takes away from reception.
Like me.
Oh, agreed. No, 100. Right. Props to you, but I'm just saying that also takes away reception. Sterling runs a lot.
Well, so does Brett. But yeah.
Well, I will say this. I'm not even giving my take on this.
Why not?
Say because I want to see this game actually happen. I don't want to predict a game.
You're saying if you give a prediction,
but then what do I do, guys?
I want this. You're on Bob. I want to see this game happen. Let's make sure we get a special championship bowl game at some point this season. Hey, if you need to get an extra game in, that will help you in terms of eligibility. But I really do believe this. Let's try to get this game played because guys are playing. They're around. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Let's find out when Waldo's in town. Let's make this game happen. So, Ernie, it's been such an honor to have you. Internet sensation. Maybe not for the right reasons initially, but hey, like you said, all publicity is good publicity. Keep doing what you're doing.
He's one of our best fucking interviews ever.
Can we bleep that out and edit?
And just make sure your sound guy knows when you go like that.
It means stop.
It means stop, not raise the volume.
Listen, by the way, you guys have been looking for this podcast to reach a deeper audience.
Yes.
You just send you dropping the F-bomb next to me to somebody, and I guarantee you will get there.
You mean you're not going to post a link of this episode on your Instagram? Great. There we go.
Oh, great. Now I have to worry about work. Sending me stuff.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
Hey, what are you doing on the side? That's fabulous.
We are now 4 balls out. We are now 4 balls out, Ernie.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for
being here. Ernie, what a great guest.
Always is.
Awesome.
And right now, he is the only guest, as we had mentioned, who's been here through all 4 seasons. I wonder who else will climb that Mount Rushmore, if you will, of TBI guests.
I love it. Davo, what should they do this week?
Hit that like and subscribe button. We have week 10,
Yeah.
11.
week 11. Week 11 sign up. We have league game. Week. We have week league. Duckies versus Gorillas. There's still 2 available games, so don't forget to sign up. Sign up is open now. We have
Tuesday Night Football?
Tuesday Night Football. Both teams are playing. I guess 3 teams. Is Avenger really a Jew baller? I don't know yet. We'll see. Stay tuned for our next show with mid-season awards. Guys, if we don't get to see you before the holidays, happy holidays, Merry Hanukkah, Happy Christmas. And from our balls to you,
Yeah. What are we?
3 balls in.
We are now 3 balls out. Have a great week, everybody.
Overcome adversity.
Adversity.
No. Anniversary? It's one thing to come over. Jesus Christ. It's one. No, you're good. Keep going. With it. Let's leave it in.
Your own beast, prime, prey, not prey.
3-1 with Gronk at the helm, which is an important thing to keep in mind, right? Gronk didn't play one of those games. Not that Zinn is any less of a quarterback, but
then you don't have a receiver. So you know what I mean? Like when Gronk doesn't play, let's say they're equal
time
quarterback.
out. Gronk didn't play this past week?
No, 2 weeks ago.
He did, but Zinn was the QB. Gronk got hurt.
Oh.
Zinn played QB.
Yeah, but my point was more so that, like, let's say they're equal at quarterback.
PJ's point was he was 3-1 with Gronk.
I mean, he started. He didn't throw a quarterback.
No, so he's more like 2-1. Is really he didn't play much.
Oh, I didn't realize he got hurt.
But he's also a good receiver.
So we're back.
I don't even know if he played.
Let's go back. Change the narrative. But let's go into Carnival. We should talk about Carnival. But
Let's
change the narrative.
backtrack. Yeah,
Change the narrative and prep next time.
Wow.
Just saying.
Okay. I didn't look at the box score. I just
And then how do you prep? You didn't watch the game.
No, but I went by the chat. I
went by the chat. You just said you weren't on the chat today.
No, today I went by the chat on Sunday.
I'm just kidding. I'm busting your balls.
No, I'm just saying.
Fine.
That's an important detail. I know I screwed up, but I didn't look at the box score.
Just,
yeah.
Here we are.
Well, he's anti-vegetables, and he picked the most anti-vegetable guy, right?
Is he a carnivore?
Yeah. No, he's a reaper.
He's a reaper.
Is he not in a coma?
I thought he was a carnivore. Can we do it again?
Try that again?
Yeah,
there you go.
All right.
It may come as a surprise to you, but I am not a big fan of vegetables. Look, I can hang with you on anything that has to do with a potato. I can even go in on some cauliflower with a nice sauce on it, or a salad with a lot of dressing. But Brussels sprouts, who loves Brussels sprouts? And then I have these beautifully roasted Brussels sprouts with a balsamic glaze. It was unassuming. It was surprising. These little bits of happiness and joy in my mouth. Although he was never in my mouth,